Hey, everybody, this is Joe Lynn Turner, and you're listening to Tom and Zeus on the Shout It Out Loudcast. Lock it and rock it.
The year is 1985. The movie is Vision Quest. And on episode 52 of the Album Review Crew, we are going to be joined by the great Chris Jericho to talk about this seminal classic soundtrack to a movie that, although it is awesome, it is a little bit underrated. Zeus, let's talk about Carla's coups this month.
Oh, what fun that's going to be. Yeah, I want to go wrestle a guy that looks like he's 32, carries tree trunks. He's got fucking hamstrings like animals.
What's his name? Shoot! Now call me fucking Big Hawk.
That's Big Hawk from the Jerky Boys. Big Cock? No, Big Hawk. I thought it was a joke amongst the guys in the locker room. Oh, that too. Anyway, Tom, yeah, this was a great get, and we had to time it right with Chris and his crazy busy schedule. So I'm glad we got him for this.
Yep.
But last time we were able to snag the great Zach Throne from Corey Taylor's band and the Bruce Kulick band, and amongst many bands that he's been in. And from his meth dealing days on 90210, getting David Silver strung up, Zach came on to help us break down Diary of a Madman by Ozzy Osbourne.
Yep. And as always, we have a poll. And the 4 songs that made the poll were SATO, because it's the best song on the album, Over the Mountain, Flying High Again, and Diary of a Madman. Now, this was interesting. SATO didn't even make an appearance. I got like 5% of the votes because you people are all insane. Over the Mountain, Flying High Again, Diary of a Madman, percentage points separated the 3 of them. Over the Mountain had 32.6%. Flying High Again, 31.2%, and Diary of a Madman, 30.5%. Now, this was the 51st episode of Album Review Crew for Diary. People went out of their minds for this album. A couple comments here. Let's talk about it here. Lee Bruton. Just to add my 2 cents worth, Sato is a ripping song and one of the best on the album and a great way to lead into Diary of a Madman. Our buddy Jerky Jack Broad, a masterpiece and one of the greatest metal albums of all time. Ozzy never did anything better than this, in my opinion. 11 out of 10. Ooh, nice.
I guess he liked it.
And we got a comment from one of our favorites here, Zeus. Fat Vince is out of breath. Has something to say this month. Love that you have a new person coming in as a third person. We hear a fresh perspective and not the same gimmick, which is more tired than me singing Dr. Feelgood. # I'm fat. I don't think it was a gimmick. Let's be nice. Cody Brunet.
Wait, was he claiming that someone had a gimmick?
That's
a veiled comment that somebody I know.
Yeah, I know. Cody Brunette, this is the best album out of everything Ozzy was on. It's a real shame that Over the Mountain has never been on a live album. Our buddy Steve, he ranks, Steve always comments and then ranks the covers and the albums. Very cool. I've never been the biggest Ozzy fan, but I always preferred Ronnie James Dio. But Ozzy's first 2 albums were the best of what he did. And we got one here from Herschel Walker. I think it might be a different Herschel Walker.
In between him sheriff departments.
In between him embarrassing himself with a fucking microphone in his hand. These are my favorite episodes you guys do.
That's the randomness of this. What the fuck is somebody named Herschel?
Well, let me be clear, because he's obviously a listener. It's Herschel Walker Kyler is the so it, So he says, these are my favorite episodes. Why is Herschel Walker funny?
This is Earl Campbell writing in.
But these are my favorite episodes you guys do. I want you to do a spoof of Sharon Osbourne interviewing with Zeus doing the Sharon voice to every question.
You motherfuckers! Sado is the best song on the fucking album because it's got my fucking name in it. They're all fired.
Oh, okay.
Sharon, I didn't even fucking play on the album.
Let's finish up Twitter with Greg Seacrest. Diary of a Madman is not only the best song on the album, it's Ozzy's best song, period. Whoa. That's a hot take, Greg. Yeah. But he's a Patreon, so we'll let it slide. But that's what we got for that's what we got for
shit. So we leave him alone.
He's a good shit, so we leave him alone.
Got a fucking head like a drive-in theater.
But that's what we got for Twitter.
All right. On the Book of Face, we got a shit ton of comments here. Let's go to our favorite here, Kevon Japson.
Oh boy.
The ball busting between Zach and Tom was hilarious. Sorry, Tom. Zach was right. He was also right about Diary being the best song on the record.
No.
Absolute masterpiece. We also get to hear Zeus Sharon Osbourne impression. Fuck you, Kevon, you fucking pervert. Love it. Also makes me crack up. Can't really argue with anything said on the episode. That is so good. Would love to know the inside baseball when Zeus said, hey, Zach, it's called Eastern Standard Time.
Oh. Yeah, we had a little bit of a time mishap with Zach, so.
Yeah, and I was like, Eastern Standard Time? He's like, oh, okay, no problem. Zach, you coming on? Yeah. Zach, you going to be here?
Oh, yeah. Oh, shit.
Brad Rustoven. Well done, Patreon members. Great episode for me. Diaries greater than Blizzard from top to bottom. And I agree with Zach. Tonight is one of my favorites from the album. Such a beautiful song. The first Ozfest I saw in 1998, Joe Holmes was on guitar with Ozzy. They started with Believer.
Oh,
they
nice.
put a photo of John Holmes.
Who the fuck is Joe Holmes? Joe Mutta.
Joe Mutta here. Mark Flores music. I love when he chimes in.
Yeah, me too.
Guys, you nailed it. The revolutionary sound and tone of this album were and are groundbreaking. How can something be so dark yet joyous simultaneously? Randy addressed the guitar's fretboard with the grace of a ballerina, but with the pick hand of a Viking invasion.
Wow.
The two shouldn't go together, but on him, they did. The muscles and nerve endings of his hands created a sound so specific while never being stiff or overblown. Even then, you could hear this guy had an incredible skill and knowledge, but was never overdoing it. The classical scales that created Disney's Pinocchio can also be made to invite Dracula and vice versa. The weaving of these two approaches is the Ozzy Randy recipe that nobody has been able to recreate. I will tell you, if we had comment of the month for ARC,
you just took the words right out of my mouth. If we had comment of the month for ARC, Mark Flores would be the king right now.
And that's why I say I love when he jumps in because his fucking comments always brilliant.
Yeah.
Michael Murphy, good episode. Although I've not seen this big of a slobberfest since the 2004 Lisa Sparks classic, American Bukkake.
Well, you know what, Michael, that's a fair assessment, but every once in a while we do get an album where we just, it's just too good to just not slobber.
I don't understand. Again, what do you guys want us to say? Fucking, this sucks just to be fucking, different and just to be, a curmudgeon. The fucking album's brilliant. Sorry, we all agree.
And most, well, I shouldn't say most because we have had some Patreon picks that you're not 100% fond of. But the Patreon picks probably mostly are roundly applauded albums. But this one was definitely special because everybody fucking absolutely adored it. So
yeah, absolutely. And what you didn't get though was an agreement on what's the best. And so hence you had the Tom Zach kind of argument about, no, I like this. No, this is better. So there's still, amongst the tracks on there, a dispute, which leads to fun conversation. So, I get it, but I'm sorry. I'm not going to just say that Over the Mountain sucks just to be different when it doesn't.
No, and I don't think Michael was asking for that, but I think he was just kind of making an observation. This was probably the first.
Him.
Well, okay, we could say that too. You're right.
No, I'm not saying he was either, but I'm just saying that there is that aspect of it. And I think there was one other person that made that comment. Oh, you guys are fucking, too positive about this. I like it when dude.
Okay, well, let me be honest. Let me be honest with you. If we had somebody on this episode that was spending 2 hours shitting on Diary of a Madman, then they regardless of who that person may be, that's just not a credible thing. I'm not saying you have to like Ozzy. I'm not saying you have to like Randy. I'm not saying you have to like, but if you like, this is just terrible. I don't understand this. These guitar solos stink. These songs are terrible. That might be entertaining for you guys. That's not what we want on the show because that's not believable.
Yeah. It's just to be different. It's just to be fucking attention grabbing. It's nonsense.
I mean, I get it. If like when I did Rage Against the Machine, if Zeus is like, you know what? The music's pretty good, but I just can't stand Zach screaming. It just doesn't do anything for me. Okay, now we're having a dialogue. But if you're gonna hate Diary just to be a contrarian, then that's
well, if we ever get to Back in Black, you want us to get on there and
not terrible. Angus Young overrated.
Oh yeah, I can't. Anyway, we don't want to go down that avenue. Believe me, there's a lot that could be said, but we're not.
No.
The great Denise Sorelli.
Oh no, this broad.
Love this episode. Finally, you had a musician explain some of the things you were hearing. Zach was awesome. Love the chemistry. He and Tom were a riot. You guys always keep us on our toes. What was that last comment about the time zone? Here's another one asking.
Oh, yeah. Wow. So Denise actually had a nice comment.
Yes. Well, I don't know.
She must
as nice as he can get.
She must have taken her pill or something this week.
Who knows?
We love you, Denise.
John Kozes. I always listen to your podcast, even if I don't like the topic, as sometimes I'm pleasantly surprised. Holy shit. I don't particularly like Ozzy's voice, but Ozzy and Randy's production made the first 2 Ozzy albums solo masterpieces. I never gave this album a chance, and I can't believe I never knew of Randy. He's a genius, a real guitar god. I went back to listen to the first 2 Quiet Riot albums just to hear Randy's playing. What a legend. I read that Ozzy gave Randy the freedom to express himself and do what he liked, which made this album so good. Ozzy is smarter than I thought. He had probably the best musicians at the time in his band, complimenting his voice. Just want to thank my fellow Patreon members and TNZ. Also want to say I enjoyed Zach's professional analysis of the album. I actually enjoyed this review, and yet again, it's taught me something new. Thank you.
Love it. Love those kinds of comments.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we're going to continue on the third man in stuff. Hence, we got Jericho.
Yep. He'll be joining us shortly.
Yeah. And on our Loudcasters, Gary Capp, the best Ozzy album, in my opinion. Listen to this way more than Blizzard of Oz. Great pick.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Hall of Famer, Gary Capp. I apologize, Gary. I owe you one there. Hall of Famer, Jeff Trott.
Yep.
Guess who's back in the motherfucking house with a fat dick for your motherfucking mouth?
One of my top 5 albums of all time. Can't wait to listen to this. John Whiteman. Zeus's Sharon Osbourne impression is on par with his Ace impression. I'd love to hear them do a duet, or even better, have a heated argument. I don't know, Tom. Let me think of one. Ace! And what the fuck is he's waiting? I'm going to play a game of cards. I'll get back to you, Sharon. Why don't you chill out and shut the fuck up? That's about what would happen, probably. David Haller Houston says, my favorite metal rock record ever.
Ooh.
And the reason I play guitar. Great job, guys. Every song is genius. By the way, Zeus, I like So Tired.
Ah, there you go.
3 people that like this song.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is a very polarizing song. You guys got to watch that fucking video. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Yep.
Rick Chang 77. First of all, I'm not a Kiss fan, but I have been a listener for quite a while. and I usually enjoy your non-Kiss centric episodes like this, and hence that's why we do these. Thank you for making me fall in love with this album all over again. I've always thought that they never before and never since has there been a single song so crushingly heavy, yet so hauntingly beautiful as the title track. Simply amazing. That's a great fucking comment there.
That is a great comment.
And then Evil Eyes 47, he says, Sub Knobhead, so this guy's definitely not from the U.S.
I love it.
Said, I never got into Black Sabbath. Talk about being a jerk. My friend's a jerk because he never got into Black Sabbath. Dude, to each their own. That knobhead is me. I never got into Black Sabbath. What does that fucking have to do with anything?
Dude, when somebody uses the word jerk in a serious tone, for some reason I find that hilarious.
Yeah, I know. I got their greatest hits and a few things like that, but I never bought their albums. I never got into them.
Yeah.
Sorry, not for me. Anyway, Tom, over to you, buddy.
All right, let's get to a couple things on Instagram and emails. On Instagram, we have Davis Charlotte 09. I love anything Aussie, and then 2 little heart emojis. Matt Beal, the real deal, says, I would say it's the best record ever made, but I always listen to Blizzard and Diary back to back in their entirety like it's one album. Oh, okay, that's fair enough.
Honestly, it almost is.
It's the definition of like a sister album.
They were one right after, months after another. Yet, people that are real guitar experts say that guitar-wise, like, although it may not be as accessible as Blizzard, this album, guitar-wise, shows the leaps.
Oh, absolutely, it does.
And the growth of Randy and what possibly could have been, in the future, too. So,
yep. A couple emails here. Our good buddy West Beach. The Patreons finally picked an album I can get behind. Diary of a Madman is my favorite Aussie album, solid from start to finish. Sonically superior to Blizzard of Oz with better songs and lyrics. This album spent a lot of time on my turntable when it was released. Rudy Sarzo and Tommy Aldridge inherited some iconic riffs and beats, and it is Randy Rhoads' best guitar playing on record. I was fortunate enough to have seen Ozzy live on this tour, but sadly with the answer to the trivia question, who replaced Randy Rhoads. It was ex-Gillian guitarist Bernie Tormé, but he only lasted 3 shows, as his Strat style playing was not a good fit, though he gamely tried to do the best he could with the little prep time he had. I used to study Randy's guitar work on the album and may have borrowed some of his riffs and rhythm style for my own band. It was a game-changing record that changed the shape of metal to come, and Randy's untimely death left fans wondering what may have been. Going to be hard to top this selection. Wow. And then we got a great long email from a longtime fan listener, Patrick Butterworth. He kind of breaks down the album about what he loves about it, kind of geeks out on some guitar heroes, kind of comparable to Randy Rhoads, etc. Great email there, Patrick. And that's about it for feedback for Diary, Zeus.
That's going to be, they're right, a tough album to beat for Patreon. That is going to be real hard because that was universally loved.
Yeah.
I can't recall anyone, any comment, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, anyone that said, it's not for me. Even like as lukewarm as that. Like, no.
Yeah, even the people that might not like Ozzy, they like the album because they just want to hear Randy play. So, yep, I agree. Yep.
All right, Tom, let's do a quick little break before we introduce Chris. And Sharon, can you do us the honors, please? Everybody sit fucking tight. We'll be right fucking back.
Okay, we're back. During that break, I made it up about 14 steps with a telephone pole over my shoulders, so I'm feeling pretty strong for this episode.
and you look about 32 years old, too.
Yep.
Yeah, so, Tom, this was your selection.
Mm-hmm.
We're about to have our guest in, and this was your pick for a guest.
Yep.
You want to tell us before we invite him on?
Well, first of all, anything we talk about with Jericho is always a blast, but it's an 80s movie. It's a classic rock soundtrack. I know that Jericho doesn't do this type of wrestling, and we get into that in the episode, but it's a sports movie, and I just thought it would be a perfect fit. And I am telling you guys right now, anytime Jericho was on, it's great, but this one was just super extra fun for me because it was my pick. So great time. You guys are going to love it.
All right. Let's welcome him on.
All right, so Jericho is joining us here for Vision Quest because it's an 80s movie with a great soundtrack and it's wrestling. So who else is going to join us?
I love the patronizing here.
Why is that patronizing?
Well, I've never had a freaking amateur wrestling match in my life. This is like amateur Olympic style wrestling movie. It's not like, Ready to Rumble.
However,
or something along those lines.
That's not patronizing.
I believe your son did wrestling. See?
Yes.
I know that.
And that's a very good call. And it's funny because my wife and I always wanted to watch this with him when he was in the middle of his wrestling, but we never actually did. But even just kind of going through the movie, he actually was pretty good at it. He was good. So it's kind of brought back some of the, so I'm a wrestling dad.
So at no point, Chris, you never did this type of high school wrestling ever?
No, we never had this in my high school. In my high school, Westwood Collegiate, Winnipeg, Manitoba represent. We had basketball and we had volleyball and we had water polo. And I was terrible.
You had hockey.
Well, we had hockey later.
Yeah. What?
We didn't have it at first. It didn't get it until I was like in grade 11. But I played water polo when I was
no kidding.
Yeah, because I was terrible at basketball and volleyball, and I thought, well, I'll join the water polo team, my friend and I. And we were mortified to realize that you have to wear Speedos.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you hated that.
No, I'm seriously. Like at the time, like we were wearing, long, board shorts. Like, no, you got to wear Speedos. So we would walk to the edge of the pool with our towels on, take them off, and jump in the water because we were so embarrassed. But
Jericho was wearing jams to play water polo.
Yeah, I know. I thought you could stand on the bottom of the pool too. That's fucking hard sport, man.
Yeah, you got to tread water the entire
for 5 minutes. Yeah. So then what I did was, I tried to be a goalie, which is cool because you can hang on to the side, but then it's hard because you actually have to propel yourself out of the water to make the save. So I did pretty good. Made the all-star team, guys.
Wow. Okay.
Team.
Well, if we can find a water polo movie that has a soundtrack, we'll bring you back, Chris.
Please do. We're still waiting for that big water polo movie to come out.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, this movie is Vision Quest. Chris, you're not far from me because honestly, until Tom picked this movie, I never saw it. Oh, I didn't see this growing up either.
And it's so weird too, Zeus, because it's a huge movie. It comes right from the time frame when I've seen every other movie. Like this is from like the Breakfast Club, Fast Times era of movies. And I never saw this, and I don't know why, because the soundtrack is great. And once again, it's wrestling. And I liked Matthew Modine. I always thought he was pretty cool. So I don't know how this slipped through the cracks. And I think once I got to a certain age, the statute of limitations kind of took over. It's like, I'm not going to watch it now. So I'm actually glad that we did this because like I said, gave myself a crash course in watching it, but I want to watch the whole thing afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. The funny thing is about this movie, I just feel like the soundtrack was way bigger than the movie. And it actually probably gave the movie way more life than it normally would. But it was in that kind of Karate Kid, high school kid kind of overcoming championship. And wrestling wasn't big where I was, like Olympic Greco style wrestling in high school. It's much bigger now than it was for us in the 80s. And we're all about the same age. Yeah. I don't remember wrestling big. Tom, do you?
No. But I think, but in terms of this movie, I think the interesting thing about it, I think absolutely yes. And Zeus, before we started recording, I think we compared this movie and soundtrack to the movie and soundtrack of Singles, where the soundtrack like propels the movie into the pop culture because the movie flew under the radar. But with Vision Quest, I think the movie it's a weird movie because it did come out in the 80s, but I think it's way more mature, better written, better acted. There's no sex or nudity. It's a serious movie.
Whoa, wait a minute. It was I think he tried to rape her at one point in the movie.
Oh, I know. I know that. Tom, what it kind of reminded me of in a lot of ways, and bear with me on this, is it reminded me a lot of Footloose in that I was expecting it to be one movie.
Perfect.
But it wasn't. It was much deeper. Like, Footloose is very deep. You just think it's going to be a dancing movie. I was thinking this is going to be like, a high school romp, but it's really, I was reading about it. It's based on a novel. And you can tell it's based on a novel because there's multi-layers to this thing.
Yep.
For this kid, all the different things he's going through and just the weirdness of like, I know we're not getting too much in the movie, but it's, the big plot point is he's trying to drop 2 weight classes and is basically like damaging his body to do so. Like, that's not what I was expecting from this high school, action comedy or whatever.
And I think that's kind of the point. Like the Karate Kid, it's a great movie, but it's a surface level movie. There's really nothing there but what you're seeing.
Right.
This, I mean, even like the very end of the movie, when he does like that little monologue, like as the like that
before the credits,
that's like that right there is like, it's not like Hoosiers, which is a great movie. I mean, it's a feel good sports movie, but there I think there's way more to it. I think that's why I got lost. Like it wasn't a John Hughes movie. It wasn't like it wasn't a sex comedy like Porky's or Fast Times.
Yeah,
it was like this weird mature movie and at the time there weren't a lot of mature movies.
All of us have done some sport activity at one point in high school and everything like that.
Yeah.
I think this really speaks to that.
Yeah.
This is a guy that was so determined. I thought the whole movie would be him showing wrestling moves or working on wrestling. The whole movie is him trying to lose weight to get down. And so when the big final climax movie part in the movie is like him wrestling the big guy the guy that's carrying tree trunks up the stadium thing, which
by the way
looked like fucking Big Papa Pump or something. I'm like, this guy's going to get his fucking head kicked in.
By the way,
no way that guy's smaller.
Can we talk about the fact that we were supposed to believe that Shoot weighed 168 pounds?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know. And that he was under 18.
And then he was, exactly.
I also love to, like you said, he's walking up the stadium steps with a big giant tree trunk, and then do the close up of like, it's almost like a gay porn, the close up of like his legs, and he's got those short Stuart Copeland shorts on,
like Larry Bird 86.
That's right, yeah.
The sweat's glistening, and then you see Loudon and his friend, and they're all like, look at this guy.
Yeah, it was just, but the whole movie wasn't like him learning new techniques, like the Karate Kid with the stupid seagull kick, whatever the fuck he called crane kick. Like, I was like, what part is this? How is he going to beat this guy? Great. You drop the weight.
Yeah.
But
Right.
there's no, like, oh, I'm going to beat him with this move. And then he gets the opportunity. It's just like, I don't know if he's going to win or not. He just wrestled him, and
he won because he lost his virginity to Carla. He was able to bang her finally.
Yeah, but even when Shoot goes like, "Are you going to make weight?" He's like, "I don't know, maybe."
I don't know.
That's like, all right.
And then, how about that first scene when the guy's trying to teach him like Tai Chi in the hotel room?
Oh, yeah, and more gay stuff.
And then all of a sudden, I'm watching the scene. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Yeah. And next thing you know, the guy's like reaching down to his pants. I'm like, what the fuck kind of movie is this?
and then the little subplot there about Loudon writing an article for the school newspaper on the clitoris.
What does he call it? His dad or the guy calls him a coos doctor?
A coos.
Yeah. He goes, oh, yeah. Coos doctor in space. What's wrong with you, kid?
That's the guy from Deliverance, too.
Ronnie Cox, the dad. Ronnie Cox.
Yeah.
Also, Axel Foley's.
Beverly Hills.
Lieutenant Boglemil. Yes.
He gets gunned down in number 2, I think.
But before we move on, I want to bring up this other point.
Go ahead.
So this strange lady doesn't know anybody. It's just going to have lunch with this guy and his son, and they just move into their apartment and not feel like they're going to fucking rape her or attack her. She just moves in.
I have to tell you, watching this movie again now at this age, I'm like, this is the fucking weirdest plot point in the world.
Yeah.
This is so weird.
Yeah,
like,
she's
I don't
just
get
gonna move in. Me and my son are gonna share this room with this hot chick.
Yeah.
And nothing bad's gonna happen here. Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
I don't think did Linda Fiorentino, I think did she ever do anything?
Yes.
Dude, she was huge, man. She was huge.
She was in that awesome Anthony Edwards movie from the 80s, Gotcha. Do you remember that?
Oh, that was
gun?
Awesome.
No, her big movie was Men in Black. She was.
Oh yeah. Oh shit. Yeah.
And her big, even bigger, just from a performance was. Do you remember the Kevin Smith movie Dogma?
Yes. I love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
She was the star of that.
Okay.
Love that
She was the
movie.
star of that. And that's where I remembered her from. I was like, fuck, I know this girl. And that's what it was. But then I looked through her IMDb and she did the Men in Black as well. And there was another movie too.
She won almost an Oscar award.
Tons of awards for.
Jesus.
Wow. That I remember hearing about, but I never saw. But yeah, she was pretty serious. And then she just stopped acting for some reason.
I think just speaking
After Hours, Gotcha, obviously Vision Quest, Men in Black, The Last Seduction. That's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think she was nominated for that.
Not for an Oscar, but she won like London Film Critics Award, New York Film Critics Award. You know, it's an actor's actor award type of a thing. So.
And I remember seeing that and being like, that's the chick from Gotcha. With Anthony Edwards, that fucking movie.
I think the other thing before we get into like the background and tracks, just generally speaking, like I think the interesting thing about this soundtrack, listening to it now, I don't know who put this together. I mean, we'll talk about that. I mean, we do know who put it together, but these songs, with the exception of like maybe one or two of them, these are like classic rock, like staples, like 40 years later. You know these songs inside and out. There's a couple that we'll talk about that you're like, it's kind of a weird selection. And there were some big songs that didn't make the soundtrack that we'll get into too. But I just thought it was interesting, like, because when you listen to a lot of these soundtracks, like Footloose, very 80s soundtrack, even though it's a great one. Singles, again, very 90s because that's what it is. This is just like, I mean, you got Journey, Don Henley, and Dio, and Foreigner and Sammy Hagar, like, you know, it still carries on. It's pretty cool. It
reminded me a lot of the Fast Times soundtrack in that, like, all of these songs are hits. You know, they must have had some money for the budget at the time because, you know, like you said, there's some big time players here.
Yeah. And the thing that sucks, it's not available on streaming. But
it's not. I actually had to. Because here's another great thing you'll love about this. I got home today at about 1:00 and I had kickboxing. So I told my trainer, we're going to listen to the soundtrack for Vision Quest, but I had to find it on a Spotify playlist.
Yes,
I found a playlist for it. And he's like, man, I'm glad when Crazy for You came on. He goes, I'm glad you told me while we're listening to this Madonna ballad over kickboxing.
Exactly.
Crazy for You.
Yeah. We're just going to dim the lights a little bit here, if you don't mind, right?
Yeah. Every song is available individually except for the Don Henley song.
Don Henley one, yeah.
Yeah. It's the only one that's not available on streaming.
There's a reason.
There's a reason why.
Yeah. But it tells me that probably that's the one song that was probably written for the movie.
Yeah, maybe. You know? Yeah. All
right. So what we do usually is this is Tom's pick. Tom picked this, and Tom, we're doing third person in now, and Tom wanted Chris on for this.
Yes.
So Tom, tell us how you got into the soundtrack, where you got into the album, and what your thoughts are.
Yeah. So I talk about this a lot. Like, this came out in 1985. I was 12. I have a sister that's 4 years older. So she was 16. This is like the sweet spot for cable TV and music and MTV. And I think it was just the perfect confluence of those two things. I saw this movie a lot. Probably way too young, but I love the high school aspect of it, the wrestling, the soundtrack, the videos. It was, you couldn't avoid it. It was constant. And to this day, like, it's nostalgic to me. I still think the movie holds up. Of course, it's 80s. It's got a little bit of cheese like any 80s movie does, but I still think it's a good movie. We talked about it, how it's a lot more than the surface level wrestling movie. And I just think the soundtrack, to me, it's a timeless soundtrack. It's nostalgic, but it's still current for me. It's something I listen to now. I listen to these bands on this soundtrack. Like, I listen to their catalogs on their own. So plus I just think doing soundtracks for ARC is cool. So it's been on my radar for a while.
Chris, how'd you get into the soundtrack?
Well, once again, I'm not going to say that I like sat down and listened to the whole album before today, but how did I get into the soundtrack? Is the soundtrack is made up of some of the greatest rock songs of all time. And I know for sure how I essentially got into the soundtrack, if you want to call it that, was Only the Young by Journey is actually subtitled theme from Vision Quest.
Yeah.
I know I've seen that quite a few times on different Journey records over the years and stuff. So I knew that song was from the movie, and it's one of my favorite Journey songs. Like, Journey's now getting on my I don't need to ever see them again list, although I know I will, because it's the same. It's Def Leppard's on that list as well.
Yeah.
And Motley Crue's on that list for a completely different reason. because they suck now. But I mean, Def Leppard and Journey are great. But it's the same. But it's the same songs. But when they play Only the Young, like that to me is like as good as Don't Stop Believing or Love and Touch and Squeeze. And Steve Perry's melody line. I know we're going to get into it, but anyways, that song was the one that I always equated, and I didn't realize, once again, not seeing the movie, how many great songs. But like I said, my second favorite song ever by a certain artist is on this soundtrack, and this includes all of his bands. And we can get into.
I think I know who you're talking about, but so I can't wait to get into that.
Yeah, it's just such a great tune, and it fits. Like all of these songs fit this movie. Like they could all be montages.
That I was just going to say that, Chris. That's the one. That's the other thing I love about this soundtrack. It's cheesy, but it's the 80s. It's sports. Some of the best fire you up songs ever in a soundtrack. And the way that they're used in the movie, that's the way that they place them in the movie. I think it adds a little power to each of those songs. But Zeus,
one last thing I'll say, not to interrupt you, Tom, is Crazy for You. Obviously, Crazy for You was huge when I was in like junior high school, slow dances and all that sort of thing. So, and I knew that was from Vision Quest as well. And once again, just a tremendous classic tune that really fits in with this whole vibe as well.
Do you know the aside before Zeus jumps in? Overseas, there were a few countries. I think Australia was one of them. The movie was actually called Crazy for You to capitalize on the popularity of Madonna. Which I thought was, if this movie was called Crazy for You, that would have been horrendous.
Yeah.
But Zeus, go ahead.
No, so I was going to say, all of us played sports in high school. If you played sports in high school, you had the music, you had what I like to call high school bus ride music.
Oh, yeah.
AC/DC, Zeppelin, Kiss, these things. Like, these songs are all like high school bus ride kind of music.
Yep.
But this specific album and the movie, I don't know why, but it's one of those movies I only can think of in the soundtrack was from my brother. I know he was really into it. And, when I was a freshman, he was a senior. He was on varsity, and all his varsity friends would, try to throw me into a fucking locker and shit on me, whatever. But I just remember them all playing this soundtrack. And that's just another one of those, an older brother, an older cousin you learn the music from. He had this, and he got me into this. So I always had the soundtrack, but I never saw the movie.
Yeah.
But the songs are all familiar. So when we got into this, there was only one song I didn't know.
Okay.
When I bought the CD again to listen to for this review.
Yep. Yeah, I was going to point that out too. Yeah, only one song that I wasn't familiar with, which is crazy when you think about that.
Yeah.
No. So the next thing I want to kind of quickly do here is go over the actual soundtrack information here. So looks like Vision Quest, the soundtrack was released February 12th, 1985, right in our wheelhouse.
Yep.
It did go platinum. I'm sure it's more than platinum now. And it made it to number 11 on the U.S. album chart. Let's talk quickly about the album cover. Tom?
It's just a movie poster. It's just, I'll be honest with you, I actually don't like the cover. I have a copy of the vinyl that I found on eBay because it's all out of print. The back cover is a picture of Loudon jump roping, no shirt on, kind of a cool action photo.
Like this.
I feel like exactly. There you go. I feel like that would have been a better cover because this one here, the cover spoils the movie. Not that you don't know that Carla and Loudon are going to get together, but here they are embracing each other, kind of very serious looking. And then it's got the track listings and it's got the Vision Quest font. It's whatever. It's,
it's interesting to me that the track listing is on the cover of the album.
That is a good point because it's on the back.
It's a selling point. Look at these awesome artists.
Don't see that.
It's good. I mean, it's on. Well, I bought the vinyl used off of eBay, and it actually still has the original shrink wrap and hype stickers and everything on it. And it says includes the hit Dio, Journey, Madonna, and John Waite. So big blue sticker right in the middle of it. So that you're right, Chris. They're pushing that because they know that's going to drive the movie too. So yeah.
One other thing that I'll point out music wise is when you look it up, And I know you said you're going to mention some songs that are in the movie that aren't on the soundtrack, but it also says that the background music is done by Tangerine Dream.
What movie, Chris?
I was going to say another movie that reminds me of Risky Business.
Yes.
Which is another movie that does not go the way you expect it's going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Do not expect that movie to get as deep as it is.
It's a great point.
So yeah, it's both of those bands played in these movies. So
yeah, no, it is a good point. How those 80s movies that go beneath the surface, you know?
Yeah.
But to me, those are the movies that I feel like I really find myself enjoying them at this age now. Maybe when I was younger, as a teen, I was like, yeah, this is pretty good, but I want to go watch Porky's. I don't want to watch, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know? So yeah.
Yeah, like Weird Science.
Oh, dude! Yeah. If that movie does have a soundtrack, so we could get to it. Talk about Oingo Boingo on there.
Did you guys see? There's a big festival in Vegas this weekend called like Sick World or something, and the headliners are like Slipknot, I don't know, Perfect Circle, and Danny Elfman.
What?
Elfman?
Yes.
He's the composer who does this. He does the Simpsons soundtrack theme, and all. He does a whole bunch of other shit. Wow,
yeah, he's big time. Yeah,
that's wild.
I know that guy.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else before we get to the tracks?
Let's do it.
All right, Tom. First track. All you.
All right. So we kick off with Only the Young by Journey. Now, I'm a huge Journey fan. I'm sure everybody is in different levels, but I was shocked to find out that this song was supposed to be on Frontiers, along with Ask the Lonely, two of my favorite Journey songs ever made. Both of them were recorded and made for Frontiers and then were pulled at the last minute.
Wow.
And put and then replaced with two other songs that suck that no one's ever heard of. But that being said, because I heard one of the things I heard was that they were trying to make Frontiers a little bit harder, quote unquote, and that Ask the Lonely and Only the Young were still kind of like escape style Journey songs. It's insane. It's ridiculous. So then Journey ended up selling this song to, remember Scandal? Remember the Warrior, the band Scandal? Sold it to them. They recorded it, whatever. And then it comes back around full circle and becomes pretty much like Chris said, the theme to Vision Quest. And in my opinion, this is right up there. If it's not my favorite Journey song, it's 2 or 3. I think it's fantastic. And it's one of those songs that when I hear it, probably because I've been watching Vision Quest for all these years, I can't help but not think of just Loudon Swain running in that silver rubber suit to drop all that weight. I think it's Steve Perry at his peak. It's the band at his peak. Great solo by Neil Schon. I think it is quintessential Journey, the standout track on this. And I love that they play it like 3 different times throughout the movie. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, that's something I noticed too. Like a lot of times for most movies, if a song is on the soundtrack, it just gets played like once.
Yep.
They got their money's worth by splitting them throughout the movie.
Yep.
But yeah, like I love the riff on this song because it's not a riff like you might think. You know, I could pick up a guitar right now and write like a dan 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 dan.
Yep. Yep.
This is like it's kind of a picking, you know, almost chord progression.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's very interesting. And once again, Steve Perry's melody line is so good. Like it starts high and gets higher, but when this is a great song to kick off an album. And I think Journey's greatest hits kicks off with this song.
It does.
Because Steve just comes right in with it. It's so powerful. And like you guys said, it's quintessential Journey and still a huge highlight for me when I see them play live.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
So Only the Young is the Journey song written by Jonathan Cain, Steve Perry, Neil Schon. That trifecta has written so many great songs.
Yeah.
Yep.
It went to number 9 on Billboard's Top 100, number 3 on Mainstream Rock. I think there's a video, but it's all montage stuff. There's something about what you just said, Chris, like that kind of that riff that runs. Steve will say the line, and then the riff comes in, like,
yep.
And it just, I don't know, for some reason it makes me feel like jumping rope.
Yes.
I'm not going to do these days, but when I'm in high school, like it makes me feel like you're running or you're on a treadmill, like this music. It's just like almost this theme that there's running going on or something like a continuous motion of something going. I don't know what it is. It's just the guitar riff that he's doing, but
it's the chord. It's that chord progression. It's and it's amazing that this song was not written for the movie. That's the thing I find amazing.
I always found Ross Valerie in Journey to be a little goofy. Like he looked kind of seedy, like pockmarked, and looked like kind of the guy that'd be selling, drugs outside the grocery store.
Teenage girls.
Yeah. It was cheesy stash and stuff. But he does have some real interesting bass lines. Obviously, Don't Stop Believing is a perfect example, but this has a really cool, I don't know if he's using some kind of a Taurus pedal or something in the background or some other kind of effect, but you can hear some really cool bass parts in this too, which are different from what another player might have chosen to play. And I thought that's really cool about this tune as well.
Nice.
Well, it's a great way to start the album. We all know this song, and now let's go to another song I think we all pretty much know.
All right. Change by John Waite. Okay. I remember this song, not just for the movie, but for the horrendous music video.
Oh, really?
Oh, God.
That is beyond bad.
But I will say this, just like Only the Young, this is another fire up, get you amped up type song. And again, I can't listen to this song without associating it with that scene from the movie when he's climbing that peg wall and everybody's cheering him on. And I think the thing that I really love about that scene is the big giant kid who's been fucking with him the entire time starts cheering him on, and he gets to the top and the coach is like in awe. And I just think it's a great song. Like, Bad English is terrible. We reviewed Bad English on Album Review Crew before.
There's a couple good tunes, but that's
okay. But I think a song like this, I think John Waite has a fantastic voice. I think this song it's a great pop rock, upbeat, kick-ass tune, and I think it fits this movie perfectly. And I've always loved this song, always been a huge fan of this. But that video is just, oh God.
That's a great call too, and that it's a 1-2 punch of Journey and John Waite, and that was basically what Bad English. What's called Bad Religion? Bad English was a combination of Journey and
Bad
John
music.
Actually, yeah, that's right. It was like the super group.
It was Neil Sean and Jonathan Cain, and
that's right.
And John Waite, and then of course Dean Castronovo, who now has been in Journey for decades at this point. Yep. I wasn't as familiar with this song,
really.
For whatever reason, okay. But this whole album, from beginning to end, with the exception of Crazy for You, but I don't really call that a ballad. It's a little bit more like a new wave tune or something. But this whole album is very up tempo.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, like working out to this, kickboxing to this, it wasn't like a stretch. Like it was pretty good stuff to get into. So this song was cool, but like you said, Tom, it really resonated in that scene with those pegs. And I don't know how high he really was. I remember doing that when I was in high school, and he never went too high, but that's hard, man.
So you've done that before.
Yeah.
See, every time I watch that scene, because I've never seen that before, I've always wondered how. My guess is that it's almost impossible to get up.
It is, because it's all upper body strength,
right.
And you've got one. It's like mountain climbing. You've got one chance to get that peg in the hole, or you fall.
Right. Yep.
And I thought that was a really, really cool use of that song for that. And there was another scene later on where they're doing like wheelbarrows, where they're just dragging themselves on their arms and letting their legs hang. Like all of those things, I'm sure you guys can tell it's difficult, but those are hard exercises to do, man. Well, you got to be a teenager to really do that before you start getting, even for me, I wouldn't be able to do much of that with fucked up shoulders and elbows and everything at this point in time. But it was cool to see that.
That scene, Chris, that you just mentioned, where they going around like in the snake and they're doing with the hands and dragging their feet. I'm looking at that, and again, I'm sitting there going, that looks almost impossible to do.
Yeah.
Like even, I mean, like you said, if you're a high school athlete, but they have their arms like backwards and their legs are like dead behind them. Like, what the fuck?
But there's like 25 people on that fucking team.
Oh yeah.
I've never seen a wrestling team with more like 10 kids. They got 25. That fucking number 24 and 25 are doing that for what? They ain't getting in any tournament. Fuck. That's a lot. Anyways, Change was written by Kiss Connection, Holly Knight.
That's right.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
And Holly Knight is also part of, wrote all Scandal's Warrior.
Yep.
And she wrote a lot of songs on that album, which Journey had sold Only the Young to. So there's that Kiss Connection. This was actually.
Did you guys ever hear the rumor that Patty Smythe from Scandal was considered to replace David Lee Roth and Van Halen.
Yes. Yeah, that would have worked out well.
I think that's one of those things that Eddie was probably drunk. Was like, oh, I like this song. We should get her to sing for us.
And then it becomes then 40 years later, it becomes a story.
That's 15 people coming out of the woodwork now saying like, oh, I got asked to be like Mitch Malloy. Like, fuck off.
That guy's lived off of that.
Enough already. You never were asked to join Van Halen, you fucking asshole.
I've seen where he's like named in an article like ex Van Halen singer.
Yeah. Yes,
right? And never in Van Halen. That into being ex Van Halen singer. You're like, what the fuck was he? When? What? Yeah. Anyways, the song was actually done by Hawley's band Spider first. Spider, which also had his connection, Anton Fig in that band. Remember?
No kidding.
And if you read Hawley's book, she has no qualms about it. Talks about the time she double teamed both Anton and Ace Frehley in the bed.
All right.
Yeah. She is proud of her shit.
Hey, Hawley, move over. Where's Anton?
Let me grab a piece of his ass, too.
Where's the guy with the hat?
Hey.
Don't do it.
All right, I'll stop. Poor PJ. We don't want to get him in there. The song actually went up to number 16 in 1982. And then when the soundtrack came out, they released it again. It went up to number 54. It's produced by Neil Giraldo. You guys know who that is, right?
Pat Benatar.
Pat Benatar, yeah. So I like the song. I've always liked the song. It's catchy as hell. And as you said, Tom, I just remember the video where he's like there's a beautiful woman on her ledge, and he's like a court reporter with a fucking, I don't know, like
press.
Yeah, like
exactly.
Fucking big hat on from like the 50s, stupid. And he's asking her questions outside the window.
Yeah,
and then for some reason, she's hooking up with some like I don't know, like flashback, like some agent who looks like fucking what's his name from the drug wars, Pablo Escobar. They made this wicked like Colombian drug guy with a fucking shirt.
He's hooking up with fucking what's his name? And we're like,
could be anybody.
Exactly. The drug lord guy. What's his name? Oh, well, okay. Well, there you go. Give us a clue.
Yeah. So Pablo Escobar, who later on takes the mask off, and it's John Waite.
Yeah.
Oh
and for some reason, at the end of the video, they all turn to the camera and smile. There's like a bunch of like people, and they're all wearing like Groucho Marx, like fucking masks on.
So fucking
weird,
like, dude.
What the fuck is this video? Oh, it's horrendous. Bad so acting weird. And all.
Yep.
So, but the song's still good. All right. I'm going to go to song number 3. Tom, over to you, buddy.
All right. Here's a song I don't know if anybody knew before this soundtrack, and that is Shout to the Top by the Style Council. Now, I will admit, I like this kind of like new wavy weirdo MTV kind of shit.
Yeah.
This song, I'm not a huge fan of it. I mean, it's probably the only song on the entire soundtrack that is very of the time, very 1985, mid 80s.
Right.
It's only played. You can barely hear it. It's at the scene when Loudon and Carla are at the diner sitting at the booth, and it's kind of playing in the background of the diner. So it's not really prominently featured. To me, it's on the soundtrack, I guess, maybe to give people a taste of the 80s, but I've never, I don't even know this band, to be honest with you. So I other than it's tolerable and of the time, that's about all I know about the Style Council. Chris.
Yeah. Once again, another song I've never heard before.
Yeah.
But listening to it, I even said to my trainer, this sounds like a montage. Like it's a montage. Yeah. And like you mentioned, it is a product of its time, but not in a bad way. Like I always, I have a real appreciation for new wave.
Yeah, me too. I love it.
Almost kind of like the fact this was on it because I felt that this was all so much rock and roll, which is great, but it didn't have a soundtrack feel to me. It had more of like a K-Tel hits of 1983 vibe to it. You know what I mean? Where
that's a good call.
Feel like a soundtrack. It just feels like hit. Like if I went on my Spotify and it was like, playlist number 1 and it's just every hit song is hit. So this one kind of, I liked it in that I'd never heard it before. It is very much dated, but in a good way. And it shuffled the deck of the styles of music that were being played.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So Shout to the Top is written by the Style Council. Okay. And the song went to number 7 in the UK. And I definitely thought it was some R&B act or something like that. This is a white British band.
Oh, yeah.
Rick Astley-like vocals.
Yes.
Not fit. And then I saw the video. And the music keyboard, there's a keyboard guy playing. It's almost like Tears for Fears, like 2 dudes.
Yep.
And there's the keyboard guy going, and then the skinny, greasy-haired singer singing on the side. Yep. I'm like, where the fuck have I seen that guy before? And I realized where I seen him.
Yeah.
They were in Band-Aid.
Yeah.
One of the singers in Band-Aid in the back. And that skinny guy, I recognized him in that video for some reason. And he puts his hand up in the clip. And that's where I remember seeing this band. I never put it together. At best, I get these guys must have been some big, Paul Young type of British artist back then.
Yeah. Paul, I think the guy you're thinking, I think it's Paul Weller.
His name is Paul Weller. No, but I'm saying like Paul Young really, and those type of actors.
Yes.
Have you guys ever heard of the Jam?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's Paul Weller. So this was kind of almost a super group. They had a couple of the songs that were hits. And I remember that it was Paul Weller, who was the guy that you saw in Band-Aid and from the Jam and Style Council. And then actually, I think like the guy from Dexy's Midnight Runners that was the main songwriter was in this band as well. And that was kind of like an offshoot of like, okay, now it's like almost like a new wave supergroup type thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and the keyboard, it's got a very Carlton-like dance thing. Like you can do the shoulder move and clap your fingers like Springsteen to this song. But I don't mind the song. It grew on me. When I first heard this, I was like, oh, God, there's going to be some fucking bad songs here. Because I didn't purposely look what was coming down the pike because I forgot what was on there.
Yep.
But this is the only one that really stood out as like, I don't know this band, but I'm glad it's here. I actually like the song. So,
okay.
All right, let's go to number 4.
Next one is the first of 2 songs by Madonna, who actually appears in the movie. Gambler is the next track here. At this point, I absolutely loved Madonna. I loved early Madonna. Lucky Star, Borderline, and the Material Girl shit. I love this kind of like dirty looking, like punk new wave Madonna. That being said, this song is okay. It's kind of like when I say I'm not a huge fan of Fast Kiss. I'm not a huge fan of Fast Madonna. It's okay. It's a cool song. I mean, I like the scene in the movie when they're at the club and she's performing all the music on stage and everything. And I get it was a huge get to have Madonna on a soundtrack, especially with 2 songs in 1985. But it's a good Madonna song. It's definitely not my favorite from this era, but I think it checks the box and I mean, it's classic Madonna. It's definitely a cool song. And again, kind of like Style Council, I think it's a good fit for the soundtrack. Like Chris said, it gives you a break from like the hard and heavy, like rock and all that stuff. So can't go wrong with old Madonna.
Yeah, it's a song that I don't think I've really ever heard before. Once again, it's a little stock, but I like early Madonna. When she was just, listen, I like pretty much all Madonna except for maybe the last 10 years or so. She's very Bowie-like to me in that she's always changing and evolving her sound, her look, her style while still remaining Madonna.
Kind of like reminds me of somebody on this show, but go ahead.
Definitely an influence for sure. But I really do like early Madonna because there's a certain kind of innocence to it. Now she's been like, now she's kind of like the old, prostitute on the street that's been around or whatever you might want to call it. But
that face,
Ginger Lynn of the porn industry now.
But there is a real
lady.
There's a fun factor to Madonna at this point in time. And like you said, it's a big deal they got her. She wasn't as big as she was about to be, but she was still pretty fucking big at this point in time. So like you mentioned, not just 1, but 2, and she's in the movie.
Yes. Huge.
Performing, which is a really big deal to see her. So, Not as good as the other Madonna track on it, but I like it. And like I said, it does remind me of kind of Holiday and Lucky Star, and it's got that type of vibe to it, which it should because it's the same era.
Yep.
Gambler. It's actually written by Madonna, which threw me completely off.
She writes a lot of stuff, man. She does.
But she wrote it alone. I know she's used to writing with contributors and stuff, but she wrote this one alone. So that's kind of unique. And she stopped doing it right out after this kind of era. I think the next album, she started collaborating with people more or less. And this made it to number 4 in the UK. It was purposely not released in the US because they didn't want it to keep fucking with Like a Virgin, which just was out and releasing single after single. Unlike the next song from her on this soundtrack, which they just couldn't hold back. But it's pretty straight up kind of, I think, forgettable pop music. It's okay. It's not like something you run to or remember from that era, but it's nothing you like, oh, turn this off and shit.
Right.
But it fits with the times, and good for them for getting her. So
yeah.
All right, Tom, we're going to probably one of my favorite artists of all time. And I don't know what the fuck this is, but go ahead. You take it.
All right. So we're kind of in the middle of the dead zone of this soundtrack right here. We talk about track listing and track setup and sequencing a lot. Yeah, they didn't do a very good job here. But if you're talking about a vinyl or a cassette, this is the last song on side 1. She's on the Zoom by Don Henley. Now, I like Don Henley's solo material. I love his voice. I'm not a huge Eagles fan, but I like the songs that he sings. This is just a fucking mess. I don't know what's going on. This is Don Henley trying to be somebody who he's not. And again, we saw this happen a lot with artists in the 80s. They try to embrace that mid-80s MTV new wave pop, punk, whatever thing. The song is, the scene that it's in, him and Loud and Carl are driving in the truck to the grandfather's house out in the middle of nowhere. And all I can hear is how terrible this song is. And it's too bad because I like Don Henley, but this is not something that he should be trying to do.
It doesn't fit that scene either.
It doesn't fit anything. No, I don't have much to say other than it's a shame because I like Don Henley. And again, I think this was another good get for the soundtrack, another big name. And maybe there's a reason why this isn't available on streaming. Maybe he erased it.
Yeah. Like I said, when I looked up She's on the Zoom and it wasn't on streaming, I thought, well, that's very, very strange. Wasn't on anywhere, Apple Music. So I found it on YouTube and listened to it on that, which I'm thinking, why is there a Don Henley song that's not available anywhere? I mean, once again, not the best song, but still there's a lot worse songs that are on streaming. So I'm wondering if it was written specifically for the movie and the movie retained the rights to it.
Could
which
be
is weird, but it's Don, early 80s Don. Maybe he didn't have the power that he has now or whatever. I would think that's probably why it's not on there, because it probably belongs to the makers of Vision Quest. And that's why the soundtrack isn't on there either. Having said that, why would the soundtrack be on there when it's made up of all these huge rock songs? Foreignor's probably like, go fuck yourself. You're going to stream it. You're going to stream it through our shit, not through yours, man. So that Don Henley song might never ever stream. And in this day and age, if you're not streaming, you pretty much don't exist.
Right. It's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So She's on the Zoom is written by Don Henley and somebody named Danny Korchmer. So I'm a huge Eagles fan, Chris. I don't know if you know, but
yeah,
I love Don Henley. He can sing the phone book. He's got that kind of a voice.
I agree.
So this is a place where he's trying to still find himself. Did you guys realize, and I didn't realize it too, that it's just so non-Don Henley. What? That cheesy callback of pictures of his car.
Oh, it's awful.
Pictures of his room.
It's so bad.
Do you know that's Belinda Carlisle and the guitars from the Go-Go Girls, Jane Wilden?
Really?
That's them.
Nope.
Is it really?
I wonder if they did that. Yeah. Oh, Zeus. Do you have the information on who wrote that tune?
Well, it was Don Henley and Danny Korchmer, whatever.
Okay. I was wondering if maybe the Go-Go's might have written it, because it does not sound like a Henley tune, you know?
Yep. It says it right there, background vocals.
I'm not saying you're lying.
No. I'm just saying. I was just like, what? And I saw her because I was trying to find out information on this, because Don Henley, as we all know, and you as a musician, he is fucking anal about where his music played because he's an artist.
Right.
How it gets played and all that stuff. So this is not on any Don Henley album anywhere.
Nope.
So hence, you can't find it other than the Vision Quest soundtrack.
Yep.
And Vision Quest ain't putting this shit out.
Right.
So you can't find it streaming anywhere. I don't know if Henley's embarrassed about it. I can only imagine.
He should be.
How much cocaine was done by Don Henley in the Go-Go's at this time in 85 to pull out this shit. That pictures of his car and pictures of his room is so cheesy. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking. But regardless, it seems like it's a combination of 3 songs. Johnny Be Good, Footloose, and then what's that song that he came out when they reformed Hell Freezes Over? Get Over It.
Yes.
It's got that kind of those 3 songs in between there. But if you notice, the lines rhyme, and then whatever the last line is in the verse, it goes on longer than the music, and it doesn't rhyme with anything.
Yep.
And I'm like, this is fucking weird. Like the words aren't keeping up with the melody. Like it's just going over.
Well, that's what happens when, like you said, when you're on coke, you can't keep track of what's going on.
Like that's so not Don Henley. I've never heard him do anything like that. It's so strange.
Yeah.
The last line doesn't rhyme with anything, and it goes over the music. I don't know. I still like it because it's Don Henley, but that cheesiness.
Yep.
Oh, that's terrible. That's really bad. I can only imagine how embarrassed he is of this song.
Well, hey, that could be another reason why it's not streaming. He might have just said, fuck it.
He might have been like, please don't give Paul Stanley any ideas. He'll wipe out half the Kiss catalog on streaming.
the demo sounded much better.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Tom, let's go to what I think will be Chris's favorite tune on this album. Go.
All right, so we flip it over to side 2. Oh, boy, side 2 is unbelievable. One of the great side 2s we've ever seen here. And it kicks off with an absolutely monster track. Hungry for Heaven from Dio. Now, here is a song that fits in line with what we're saying with like Only the Young and Change. Total pump up, friggin' unbelievable song. I love the placement of it in the movie. I'm not a huge Dio fan, but the Dio songs that I do like, I love, and I love this one. It's definitely got a little bit of more of an 80s kind of pop sensibility to it. Still heavy, still rocks, but it's definitely upbeat with a little bit of a pop sensibility. Dio sounds amazing. And the chorus, this is an absolute standout track for me.
Yeah, this is my second favorite Dio song out of all of his stuff. Black Sabbath or Rainbow.
Nice.
Behind Last in Line. And Dio, the best thing about Ronnie James Dio in this time frame, especially with Vivian Campbell co-writing, was they had a really great pop sensibility, which you just mentioned, Tom. They had super fucking heavy songs, but they would pull out a Mystery, or they would pull out a Hungry for Heaven or a Rock and Roll Children, where you could envision hearing it on the radio. And like, that's why it fits perfectly in this soundtrack. To me, it's just as poppy. I mean, if you would have flip-flopped and said like, oh, this is a Journey song and Steve Perry sang this, I could hear that. Yep. I just love the hook of this tune. But the thing I love the most is there's a line in it that says, just hold on. You can make it happen for you.
Yeah.
That's one of my all-time favorite lyrics that I've used my entire life. There's Paul Stanley in Decline of the Western Civilization, where he says, the only people that tell you can't do something are the ones that have failed, and you can make it happen for you. And I just love Dio's fucking positive message there. It's like almost like a Paul Stanley message.
Yeah, totally.
I had the privilege of meeting Ronnie half a dozen times to where he knew who I was. And I told him one time, I said, you can make it happen for you. What a line to live my life by. And he had this super deep voice, and he was just a little guy, but he's like, it really, really means a lot to me to know that it touched your heart that way, Chris. And I appreciate you telling me, but he's just this fucking Dio. I'm just like, thanks, Dio.
That's awesome.
But, what a tremendous standout tune. And once again, like we said earlier about only the young, they use this throughout the movie. It happens quite a bit. So yeah, it made me smile to hear it on this because I knew it was on it, but I kind of forgot. But to see how much they actually used it in the movie, and it could be a montage as well. Like
totally,
it's just got that vibe to it. So anytime Ronnie James Dio got a little mainstream love, it makes me happy. So I'm glad that this was included.
Cool.
All right, Hungry for Heaven, Dio. This was written by Ronnie James Dio and Jimmy Bain, the bass player.
Oh, Jimmy, good. There you go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It went to number 30 on mainstream rock. It was on Sacred Heart. So that's the thing about we were talking about. I think, Chris, you had said it. A lot of these songs are on their band's albums. Almost all of them are on, right?
Yeah.
With the exception of She's on the Zoom, I think every fucking song here is on an album somewhere. Mm-hmm. But Hungry for Heaven, it's got that heaviness, and his voice it's got so much meat behind it. I can't describe it. He's got so much grit and like soul, but like power behind his voice. And then there's always those keys. Like I think of like Rainbow in the Dark is a fucking heavy riff song, but it's got the keys that can make like, you know what? This can actually be a pop song. Yeah. Same here, totally. I feel. The keys on this lighten this up that it's like, you can see anybody doing this song and really work. And he wrote a great song here. Yep. The main riff is supposedly a cut off of Bob O'Reilly. I don't know.
Bow, bow, bow.
Yeah.
I totally hear it.
Wow. And they said on the main riff.
Bow, bow.
Holy shit.
Teenage Wasteland.
Yeah.
Teenage Wasteland. That's fucking great. I never even thought about that before.
Yeah, that's called Wikipedia. And wow. But also Vivian Campbell just rocks, and that solo awesome. And there's a few really good solos on this album, but that's probably the best one on this.
Yep. Yeah, when your solo beats Neil Sean's solo, you know you did something cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. And then I don't know if these are real videos because you can't tell on YouTube anymore. Right. I saw a video of it, and it looks like they're in a castle. It's like a fucking,
of course, there's a castle. It's fucking Dio.
Yeah, like a Dungeons and Dragons castle live performance of it. And like Vivian Campbell's probably seen the least, which is the most insane thing. Like that's the guitar god on this band, and you barely see him. But this was the last album I believe he was on Sacred Heart, and then he left. But yeah, this is a great song. And for all the times Dio's just one of those guys that everybody loves, and the critics really love him. And it always gets on me because they're always like, oh, Dio, listen to Ozzy. Fuck Ozzy, Dio. Yep. Oh, you like Jolyn Turner and Graham Bonnet? Fuck that, Dio, Rainbow. I like them all. I can like him and like other people. I just never really got into his solo career. I have a greatest hits album. I like it, but I never took a deep dive into his thing. And I probably will now. Yeah. Thanks to, coming to this. So
I was the other side of the coin. I was a fucking Dio guy, like since day. Well, Dio as a solo artist, then went back to the Sabbath stuff and the Rainbow stuff. But yeah, I've been a Dio guy, and I'm an Ozzy guy too. Like you said, we're allowed to like both. Mm-hmm. Just something about fucking the Dio is just what you see is what you get with that guy. Like every interview he did, or every lyric. Like nobody can get away with writing these fucking lyrics like this, and but he does. And it like, I can see him, getting away with it. It works. Like I can see him looking for the Sacred Heart somewhere gleaming in the night. Like I'm going to find this motherfucker, He reminds me of a lot. There's a few guys that could do that. Ozzy was one when he was doing that. Bruce Dickinson's the other one that can sing about, the Caladan and the Gom Jabbar and all this other shit. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? But it's Bruce, so it works. So I find Dio was the exact same way. Right. And a little bit of trivia, and we can move on, is that Dio is one of Bruce Dickinson's influences as a singer. So
I believe that. Yeah. It's just like, I've seen too many videos of him, like, bitching about shit, like all these youth, because he's gone. So any clip of him. So there was one where I saw him after a concert, and he's in the back of his truck or van or something, and he's signing stuff for fans because he's legendary for being over the top for his fans. Yeah. And he's in there, and you could see this troll fan go up to him.
I've seen it.
Yeah. Where he's like, hey, Vivian Campbell says this and that. Yeah, Vivian Campbell says that. And it's egging him on. He finally snaps. fuck Vivian Campbell? Oh yeah,
he's a fucking asshole.
Yeah,
he's a fucking asshole.
Yeah, he's in fucking Def Leppard. Yeah, that's a real rock band.
He goes, he's a fucking asshole. You can tell him I said that.
Yeah, that
is funny though. We opened for Motorhead in like 2006 or something in LA, and Dio was there.
Wow.
And he was really cool. And he was signing autographs for everybody. I said, that's really cool that you're signing autographs for the fans. It's not even your gig. And he's like, Chris, always give the fans their moment. Yeah. Always. He said, you'll never remember it, but they'll never forget it. That's awesome. Give everybody their moment. And I still live by the rule of Dio to this day.
Yep. He's the man.
Yeah. I mean, he's legendary with his fans. So, all right, Tom, let's go to the next track.
All right. In my opinion, this is the epitome, the top of the mountain of pump up songs ever written ever. Lunatic Fringe, Red Rider, Tom Cochrane. This fucking song, even now at age 51 years old, I feel like I could fucking do anything when I hear this. There has never been a song, in my personal opinion, that has this kind of buildup, that those keyboards, that aura that it creates, that sense of that something unbelievable is about to occur. And then all of a sudden it kind of gets a little bit quiet and you got that riff. Then that riff comes in. Then the drum fill comes in. And then it's the whole song all at once. And then when his vocals, Lunatic, and I remember when I was a kid, I'm like, Lunatic Fringe. What does that mean? I know what a lunatic is. What does this mean? And I love another, like, it's so funny when you hear these songs and you pick up different things at the very end, near the very end, when all of a sudden, for some reason, there's like sirens going on at the end of the song and it's up to this. I love how the song just ends. I've always loved this song. And again, one of the most perfect scenes in the movie when Loudon is getting ready to fight Shoot and he's by himself and he's jumping rope. And it's just, oh man, you feel like you could go fight, Shoot, and win. It's so good.
No, that ain't happening.
It's so good.
So I've known this song. It was a huge hit in Canada. Obviously, Red Riders from Canada.
Yep.
This is pre Tom Cochrane's solo stuff.
Life is
big
a highway.
leagues and Life is a Highway and all that stuff. So I know this song like the back of my hand. It's funny for wrestling fans. John Moxley used to use this as his ring song. He was actually, I think his nickname was the Lunatic Fringe for a while.
Yes.
There's certain songs that you hear that make you feel the song that you're listening to. And what I'm saying, like, for example, On a Dark Desert Highway, Hotel California, you feel like you're on a dark desert highway with the cool wind in your hair. This song feels like lunacy to me. It's like Lunatic Fringe. You're on the edge of being a lunatic. And this has that vibe to it. Just the way, like you said, the beginning, it's like unhinged, you know?
Yep.
And, it really is a killer song for that. And we've said it countless times. They really use that in this movie in the perfect spot for the Lunatic Fringe. It's the beginning of the movie, but once again, they use it a few other times as well. So one of the all-time great songs, one of the all-time great Canadian songs, and another perfect, like you said, perfect example of why this, as I'm listening and doing the show, this might be the best soundtrack of all time. Right? Even like A Hard Day's Night, for example, the soundtrack, when you buy it, it's 7 Beatles songs, and this side are 7 like instrumentals that of like, fucking symphony shit where the Beatles are running or whatever. Like, this might be the best track by track soundtrack ever.
Wow, nice.
Red Rider's Lunatic Fringe, written by Tom Cochrane, who, as Chris mentioned, Canadian, who wrote Life is a Highway later on, became a big hit. This went to number 11 on mainstream rock charts. You already mentioned it, Moxley, when he was Dean Ambrose, had this as his theme. And then they said, I saw that Kurt Angle used this in TNA. I didn't know that.
No, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, this just said that it was his theme for a little bit. Again, growing up, you have certain memories of where you heard certain songs. I remember skating and learning how to skate and going to the hockey rink and going to my local skating rink for free skates on Friday nights, skating around, and this song would always play.
Yep.
And it's just a vivid memory. And then just the image of the movie and him jumping rope, and it stays with you. And someone I read on YouTube's comment said there are 3 songs that the intro and build up are so powerful. And he wrote Phil Collins' Air Tonight.
Okay.
This song, and he said The Twilight Zone by Golden Earring.
Oh, wow. Nice.
I'm like, yes, there is a build up that
that's true.
Yep. Yes. That I'm like, yes, you do have this. But I can't explain it. Like, for me, I don't know what other songs they did. How does a band come up with something so like brilliant in this song and never have anything close to it ever again? Because I think this was just every little aspect of this song, every little nook and cranny of like the fucking eerie noises when the keyboards come on, the sirens was just brilliantly done. It's like like you said, it could have been something for me. I'm thinking like, oh yeah, the Beatles could have put this as one of their brilliant songs, but the Beatles also wrote like 40, 50, 60, 100 other great songs. What the fuck do these guys do afterwards? I don't know if they have anything as good as this, but God damn it. It should have been like one song of many because this is brilliant. I think it was number 82 on VH1's top 100 greatest one-hit wonders when they did this in 2009.
That's kind of a caveat though, because it's a one-hit wonder, but basically Tom Cochrane went solo and wrote 15 other hits, including Life is a Highway.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Like, true. You can't call Red Rider, I guess, essentially is a one-hit wonder, but Tom Cochrane is one of the greatest Canadian songwriters ever. With Life is a Highway is one of the biggest songs, I think, maybe ever, with now Country's doing it and then the Cars movie and all that stuff.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you. Have you ever seen the video for this?
No.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, yeah, I remember MTV played this a lot.
And he's got a haircut. He looks like the guy from WKRP, the station manager, Andy Travis.
Yeah, he doesn't look like a lunatic.
And it's just like, he's
not a good-looking guy.
No.
And then there's a drummer that looks like a bloated Glenn Fry on the drums, like to the beat, just doing this like smoldering look. It is so distracting.
Telling you, MTV fucked some of these bands visually.
And then he's in the forefront. And then the other 4 members are in the background in like a line and procession. They're all like, it's just fucked up. You have to see this video, Chris. You're going to die laughing. But Red Rider's Lunatic Fringe, fucking great song. Yeah. All right, let's go to a guy I think we all know next, Tom.
Yeah, another standout track that people know and love even without Vision Quest, Sammy Hagar, I'll Fall in Love Again. Arguably, for me personally, one of my favorite Sammy Hagar solo tracks. Always love this song. I'm a huge Sammy Van Halen fan. I'm a huge Sammy solo fan. I love the tone of his voice. He always has such a pop sensibility, but still rocks and kicks ass. And I think this is a really, really, it's a nice, like, it's a mellow song for him. It's very, very poppy, especially when it has that little breakdown in the middle. But I think he sounds great, and I think it's got a really nice melody. And I think it fits the movie great too. It's a great mid-'80s rock song. It's definitely always been one of my top tier Sammy Hagar songs. So a huge fan of this one.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you can't go wrong with Sammy Hagar. You know, it makes me laugh when people like are so like have such animosity because of Sammy and Van Halen and Sammy versus Roth. And it's like, dude, I mean, honestly,
you can have both.
I love David Lee Roth, Van Halen. There is no fucking comparison vocally. I mean, Sammy Hagar is like, you know, here's the best example. Sammy can sing any David Lee Roth song. David Lee Roth can't sing one Sammy song. You know,
totally true.
And of course. And I think once again, because I was, you know, a child of the 80s, I kind of miss 70s Sammy. And my Sammy, you know, solo was I Can't Drive 55. Yes, so going back to like late 70s, early 80s, and a song like this, I'll Fall in Love Again, like don't even really know it. I know it now, but like it's so good. Like it's such a good tune. It's just another one of those ones that like if it was anybody else, it could be their biggest song, but it's Sammy, so it's like his 15th best song, you know what I mean?
Right.
But it was a nice little kind of gem to hear on this soundtrack. And like you said, it fits. It's another one of those ones you could put it in a montage. You could do anything you wanted with it because it's just a good, cool rock and roll tune, man. Good driving song with Sammy's killer vocal, and it's just a rocker.
Yeah.
I'll Fall in Love Again, written by Sammy Hagar. I think Sammy was just in such a groove. He was like the king of soundtracks in the 80s. He would always have a soundtrack on almost every 80s movie, and they would always be good.
That's true. Yeah.
Yep.
And they were always good songs. You kind of hit the nail on the head. It's Sammy. He does it. He can sing. Like, is there a bad Sammy Hagar song in the 80s? Like, all his stuff are catchy, cool. The lyrics are fun. Mm-hmm. He sings them well. There's some rocking beat to it. They're not heavy metal, but they're hard rock. And I think this is another, probably a hidden gem. And you're right. For anybody else, it could be a hit. For him, it's just another great song from Sammy in the 80s.
You know what I was thinking? I've heard this in another soundtrack, and I was Googling while we were talking. It wasn't this song, but there is another movie that he's in that's similar, Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yep.
Where the song is called Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Fast Times at Ridgemont. Yeah.
It's kind of got a similar vibe to it, but that's just Sammy. Like you said, he was locked in at this point in time, and he's been locked in ever since. Like, dude, I can't wait to go see him this summer to do all the VH stuff, man. It's going to be fucking great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He is doing all that.
That's right.
And heavy metal. He was on that soundtrack.
Of course, with the song Heavy Metal.
Yeah. So he's got a plethora of stuff. And again, like we said with Dio and Ozzy, you can like Sammy Van Halen and David Lee Roth.
Of course you can.
It always makes me laugh when people get so uptight. Like even the Gary Cherone record, like it's not great, but there is some great stuff on it because it's fucking Van Halen. It's right. Eddie Van Halen. Is it a complete success? No, but there are some fucking solos. Like anything that, if you love the guy Van Halen, anything he plays on is worth listening to.
Absolutely.
And it always makes me laugh. It's like, I never fucking Van Hagar sucks. It's the shits. It's like, dude, there ain't a better riff in the world than 5150. I don't give a fuck, man.
I love it. Love it.
You know what I mean? Like go listen to that and then shut your ass.
Yeah. There we go. We got to shut your ass. That's all we wanted.
All right, Tom, let's go to the second to last track here.
All right. Well, a song that kind of really doesn't need an introduction, but we'll give it one because that's what we do here. Hot-Blooded Foreigner. I mean, God, what can you say about Foreigner and Hot-Blooded? I mean, one of the biggest classic rock songs of all time, arguably one of their biggest hits, if not their biggest hits, besides maybe Jukebox Hero or whatever. I absolutely love Foreigner. I absolutely love Lou Gramm. I absolutely love this song. It fits perfectly on the soundtrack again. And it's funny, when we go through this album talking about these songs, Chris, you're right. I don't know if it's the best soundtrack ever made, but holy shit, it is. It's like a K-Tel hits of the 80s. Totally, it's like whoever organized this soundtrack together, I wonder if they realize that 40 years later, people would still be gushing over it because it's incredible. I mean, this is like one of the all-time classic rock hits that even if you're not into Foreigner, you know this song. Yeah. I mean, what can you say about it? It's hot-blooded. It's terrific.
That's once again, like I was like, this is on this soundtrack too. Like, just reiterating what you said, this really is like not just a great a soundtrack. It's the greatest hits of 1983 or 84.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Speaking of it as a Foreigner song, I mean, it opens with that like it's dude, it's rock and roll. And thankfully Foreigner got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year.
Yes.
It doesn't mean anything, but it does mean something when you're nominated and don't get in. So I'm glad they got in. I'm glad Ozzy got in, but fucking Foreigner, man, that's a band that you could go see them play. And I don't mind the fact there's no original members. Once again, just shut up. It's the music. Yeah. It's about the tunes. And there's so many of them. And this is one of the great rock songs of all time. You know, on the greatest soundtrack of all time.
There you go. Yes. Zeus.
So Foreigner, Hot-Blooded, written by Lou Gramm and Mick Jones. It was on Double Vision in 1978. It made it up to number 3 on Billboard then. It's classic rock at its best. It's another one you guys were just talking about the fact that you're like, holy shit, there's just fucking hit after hit after hit.
Yep.
We all have soundtracks. Without it being a band playing the theme throughout, like Prince did Batman or the Beatles
Purple Rain.
Elvis's Viva Las Vegas. It's Elvis movie. It's Elvis music, but just random tracks And they're not all done for this album because obviously this song came out in 78.
I don't think any of these songs were made for this movie.
Fuck brought these songs together and was like, let's put this on an album, because if you go get Flashdance, Footloose, other soundtracks from this era, I bet you're going to find like, that song's kind of suck. Oh, that kind of, nothing like this. And this kind of solidifies it, having such a classic rock staple like Hot Blooded, which is a fucking incredible like song, and maybe got a little fatigue with it, but it's still undeniably a great song.
Yep.
It's one of those things, like I said, like, I was watching a cheap ass, teen sex comedy the other day, and there's
which one?
Which one? I can't remember. I'll get back to you on it. And there was
Zapped.
It's called Surf 2 is what it was.
Oh
called.
God.
The Coca-Cola Kid.
Yeah. But they had 2 Beach Boys songs on it. And I'm like, how in the fuck could they afford 2 Beach Boys songs on this movie?
That's the whole budget.
I mean, right. And that's the same with like maybe because these songs, maybe when was this movie made? Zeus?
85.
85.
So maybe in 85, these songs weren't as big as they are now, but there's no way if you wanted to make a movie today in 2024 and get the exact same 10 songs, there's no way. It would cost you millions of dollars to do that.
Chris, that's a great point. That's why I was always blown away by how Dazed and Confused did a volume 1 and a volume 2.
Right.
I mean, that is a K-Tel classic rock greatest hits album right there. Maybe we'll get to that someday. But you're right. It's crazy.
Speaking of that, last track.
Good segue, Zeus. You're a pro. Crazy for You by Madonna. Look, whether you like ballads or not, if you do like ballads, it doesn't get much better than this for an 80s pop ballad. I mean, it's Madonna.
Yeah.
It's as syrupy sweet as you want it to be, but that's what 80s ballads are all about. I think her voice sounds great. The song is fantastic. It was a mega hit for a reason. The scene in the movie, she sings it differently. What she sings in the movie is not what's on the recording. So it sounds a little bit different. But it's, God, I remember when this came out, it was in junior high. This was played at like every sixth grade dance or whatever. You know what I mean? But it's a great pop ballad. It's a great one.
Yeah, it's one of the all-time great pop ballads. And I was going to say, I vividly remember, I think 85. Yeah, I was in graduating from junior high because you'd be in grade 9 at that point in time. I remember every dance that we had that year. This was the big dance. We're like, I got to ask Marnie Holloman to dance with me, man, or whoever it was. And
you remember her name.
And once again, it's just this innocent era of Madonna where, like, dude, what a catchy tune. It fits the era, but it's not outdated.
Right.
Like the Style Council song is a little bit outdated. You can still hear this today. I could put it on my kids' high school dance and they might want to dance to it. So and also too, and you guys know this, music, hearing a song just brings back memories. It's like a time machine. And when I hear this, I literally remember sitting in the junior high, looking for someone to dance with, and just that whole vibe. Or maybe it was at a party that we would listen to it there, or people could make out. And you think of this song, and it brings back good memories.
Yep. Agreed.
All right. Crazy for You, Madonna. It's John Bettis and John Lynn that wrote this song, not Jerome Bettis, I could put.
The bus.
Written by Jerome Bettis.
Written by the bus. Go ahead.
Yes. And Heinz Ward. It was number 1 on Billboard. It was the number 1 song.
Wow.
It was her first Grammy nomination, Best Female Pop Vocal Performance. Look, it's a ballad. It's everything you guys said it was. I'll be honest with you. I never was a big Madonna fan. When Madonna first came out, she had competition. There was 2 of them.
Yep.
And then eventually she gave them the Heisman and stuffed her in the locker. And that was Cyndi Lauper.
Oh, yeah.
The 2 of them came out at the same time, and they were competing. They're both very different, punkish, kind of different. I liked Cyndi Lauper because she was into wrestling. And she was Captain Lou and WrestleMania and all that, and Wendy Richter and all that shit. So I was a Cyndi Lauper fan. I didn't like Madonna. I can't deny the song. It's one of those things. Like I told you, I wasn't Metallica for a minute. Metallica was shitting on my hair bands. Fuck Metallica. And then you hear one, and you're like, fuck, I like this song. I don't want to like it, but I like it. And then you hear fucking the Black Album. You're like, fuck it, I give up. They're just fucking too good. I gotta like them. And same thing with Madonna. It's not luck that she had all this career.
Right.
It's somewhere along the line. It's talent, talent. Because you can't just walk into that fucking many great songs and do what she does. So I'll tip my hat to her. It's a ballad, not a big into this song, but it's still decent and it's a number one hit. It's a smash hit for the soundtrack. So I want to end on this part. Give us a quick final thoughts, and then we'll just rank the songs. Tom?
Yeah, it's a soundtrack. I mean, I've had every incarnation of this, the cassette, the CD. I have the vinyl because I'm a vinyl dork. I love the soundtrack. I love the movie. I just recently watched the movie and I still love it. It still hits hard. The soundtrack still hits hard, as we've been talking about it here. It's a unique soundtrack because it's not necessarily a snapshot of the time, but it's so perfectly curated for this movie. And I think that because I love the movie so much, it really adds to the enjoyment of each of the tracks on it. So standout soundtrack by far. Easy for me to say that. Chris, what about you, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, I've just been kind of thinking about the great soundtracks that pop in my head. You mentioned Singles before as one of them, and Ridgemont is one of them. There's some great ones, and I'm sure there might be other ones that are just as good in different ways. But I can't think of another soundtrack that has this many heavy hitters on it. And I didn't even really realize it until you guys asked me to do this show. It's like, once again, I mean, you could put this on in any party, or working out, or driving down the road, or whatever, and it's just a great kind of a mixtape that we used to make, much more than an actual soundtrack. But
it's a great way to call it. Yeah. Mixtape.
And also including it as a soundtrack, they really utilize these songs well and utilize them multiple times. So once again, I'm going to watch the full movie, and whether the movie's a 10 out of 10 or not, the fucking soundtrack certainly is. And the way they use the music for sure.
Nice.
Yeah. For me, Tom, my final thoughts are just like you talked about. I mean, random soundtracks that are not like artist specific. I can't think of anything that comes close to this. I would put this on. So I don't have a big commute. The only commute I have really is when I drive my kid to school and back. And I always try to listen to these albums then. There's not one point where I even think about fast forward. And before I know it, the album's over and I got to press play again because I listened to it all through and I liked it. And so I'm like ready to listen to it again. And you're like, wow, that was fast because I enjoyed it. Yeah.
It's so familiar that with the exception of a song or two, you don't even have to listen to it.
No.
You know what I mean? Like I can look at this soundtrack and go, oh yeah, I can discuss this till the cows come. We'll take out the Style Council's tune and the John Waite tune and, or the Henley. So 7 out of 10 songs I never have to listen to. I know them like the back of my hand.
Yeah,
how many other soundtracks can you say that about?
It's true.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Well, we come to the fun part. We rank the 10 songs. We'll go in the same order as we did this. So, Tom, this is your album. What's song number 10 for you?
Oh, it's Henley. She's on the Zoom. Dead last. Sorry.
What's the Zoom, by the way?
I don't know. Maybe that's Coke. She's on the Coke.
I was thinking she's on the run. She's on the Zoom.
Okay.
I thought it was TV. The way you're saying she's on TV. The Zoom box. I don't know.
Chris, what do you got? What do you got ranked last?
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't want to, bag on Don Henley, but I got to go with She's on the Zoom. As a song, it's the least appealing to me.
Okay.
You know me about Madonna, so I'm going Gambler last.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Number 9, I like the song. I like the soundtrack, but something's got to be here. I'm putting Style Council, Shout to the Top at number 9. Chris.
I'll put the John Waite tune, Change.
Oh my God. What?
I'm surprised you don't know it.
I've heard it like twice. If I heard it 10 times, it'd probably change.
Okay.
Right
wow. I can't believe you didn't know this. It was a huge hit.
Yeah.
Before the soundtrack and on MTV. Yeah. Wow.
Okay.
Number 9. You guys are going to think I'm crazy, but Crazy for You.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Wait, you're a Madonna hater.
No, I like this whole album.
Okay.
Those two are the two poppiest songs. I like the heavier stuff.
All right. Number 8 for me, Gambler. Chris.
I'll do Shout to the Top, Style Council for number 8.
Okay.
I'm going to second that. That's my number 8 as well. Shout to the Top.
Okay. 7 for me, Crazy for You. Chris.
7 for me is Gambler, Madonna. So my first 4 of the lowest ones are all on the first side.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said. The side 2 is an absolute banger, top to bottom. Zeus, 7.
7, I have She's on the Zoom, and that's Don Henley, who I love, but God.
Sucks. Again, now with the 6, it's, I mean, depending on my mood.
Hard,
So this is where it gets real tricky for me. But number 6, I'm going to put Hot Blooded.
I'll put Sammy Hagar, I'll Fall in Love Again.
I'm not copying you, but I'll Fall in Love Again. That's what I have.
Okay. That's my number 5. I'll Fall in Love.
Wow. Now we're getting pretty, oh, fuck hell. Shit, dude. I mean, I'm going to Hot Blooded, number 5.
Okay.
Dude, I'll show you my list. Hot Blooded, number 5.
I'm just looking at the actual soundtrack and just picking it off right now.
Yeah, that's all right. Number 4 for me. Honestly, this could be number 1 depending on my mood. Chris, I can't believe you had it so low, but I love Change by John Waite is number 4.
Wow, my number 4. I'll do Lunatic Fringe.
Ooh, wow! I thought that was going to be your number 1.
Yeah.
Okay, Zeus.
4, I took Change too. The Holly Night Change.
Okay. And this is where it really gets tight for me here. These 3 coin flip at number 3, Hungry for Heaven.
Yeah, and just to clarify, the last 6, all of them are, well, the last 5, all of them are 10 out of 10 songs.
Yeah.
My number 3, Crazy for You.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Because great memories associated with the song. Like I said,
that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Zeus.
Chris got his first tit dance at some dance.
I wish. I might have looked at my first tit under a sweater.
Yeah. Hungry for Heaven. Love the song, and it's number 3.
I flip-flopped even during the recording of this episode. I flip-flopped, but number 2, I'm going with Lunatic Fringe, number 2.
Oh,
Chris.
Sound like you're trying to sing the song there, Zeus.
Dude, please watch the video. Watch the video.
Like I said, 6 of one, half dozen of another. They're both fucking perfect songs, but just because I love them so much, I'll put Only the Young at number 2.
Okay.
That's number 2 for me.
That's number 2 for you. Yeah, number 1 for me is Journey.
Number 1 for me, Dio, Hungry for Heaven.
Number 1 for me, and one of my favorite songs, just awesome, Lunatic Fringe. I love it.
Yep.
Like I said, any one of those 3 could be my number 1 as well.
Yep. Well, we got 3 different number 1s, but everything's the top of these rankings are pretty much the same.
Yeah. So, Chris, we know you have Quarantine's got 3 concerts coming up, right?
Yes. 3 concerts coming up.
Tell the Kiss Army people where they can find you. What about Fozzy? When is Fozzy back on the road?
We just did a festival in Orlando last week. We got Louder Than Life coming up in September, but we're pretty much off for the summer. Quarantine, the Quarantine Tour, 3 dates, Friday, July 5th at Chesterfield, Michigan, which is just outside of Detroit. That's at the Diesel Concert Lounge, which is a great place. We played there before with Fozzy. July 6th, we're in Franklin, Ohio at JD Legends. July 7th, we're in Warrendale, Pennsylvania at Jurgles. That's basically Pittsburgh. So it's going to be fun. We did 3 gigs last summer, and this is our next summer 3 gigs. So we'll be doing our new single, Good Girl Gone Bad.
Oh, yes.
Just hit number 29 on the charts. So
Congrats.
It's our third top 30 single.
Congrats.
And the second song from Crazy Nights to go higher than any song from Crazy Nights.
That's true. Holy shit. Yeah.
Which Paul is not happy about, and Gene is very happy about it.
That's awesome.
I don't even send it to Paul anymore. I just send it to Bruce and Gene because they love it.
Yeah, of course.
Great. That's great. And recently, I believe you added another belt to your many, many belts, correct?
Yes, the FTW Championship. So
Tom probably doesn't know. And what does FTW mean?
Well, I changed it last night. It stands
I DVR'd it, so I didn't see it, but
it
tell me.
It means for the world because it's for all of you. It's for the people.
That's so generous.
Like Dio?
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
I believe it was supposed to be fuck the world originally.
Yeah, that's what I...
Oh, that's just vulgar.
Yes.
He's not going to do that.
That same guy that created that title, I believe, used to come out to War Machine.
That's true.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Kiss connections all around.
Kiss connection goes all around. Exactly.
That's right. Hey, Chris, we can't thank you enough.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you coming.
Chris, this has been awesome, man. Thank you so much. I was thrilled to have you on here for my pick, buddy. We had a great time. Thank you so much, buddy.
Let me know.
Best of luck.
Whenever you need me, I'll be there.
Oh, you'll be back. You'll be back, buddy. Thanks. Be good.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
All right.
Tom, that was the great Chris Jericho helping us out with Vision Quest soundtrack. Now we do the other part of the show, and we rank the album cover and the album versus all the other albums we've reviewed so far. So this is album 51. Okay. So let's tell the people what your top 5 album covers are so far.
All right. So my top 5 album covers: number 5, Rage Against the Machine; number 4, Blizzard of Oz; number 3, Purple Rain; number 2, Master of Puppets; and number 1, Diary of a Madman. Ozzy has 2 spots in the top 5. Good God there. Look, we talk about it in the episode a little bit. This album cover it's just a movie poster. It's Loudon and Carla in a little embrace. It doesn't do anything for me. I mean, I'll probably put it. I mean, is it worse than Billy Squier's feet? Is it worse than Common Blood? I don't know. I mean, at least Billy Squier's holding a guitar. So just because I don't really know where to put this, because it is extremely boring. Carl is still hot and has that little white tank top on. I'll put this at 45. I'll put it right below Billy Squier's feet.
All right.
So Vision Quest cover at 45. What do you got, Zeus?
All right, buddy. So my top 5 are Peace of Mind, Diary of a Madman, Appetite for Destruction, 2, Blizzard of Oz, 1, Hotel California. Both of us have Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman on top 5, Tom.
Yep.
All right. For me, what I like about this album, I will give it credit. I love that to the left you have the songs and who the artists are.
Yeah, that is cool.
On the front, that is different. And I like the Vision Quest, the font on that going across. The cover is them two together. I mean, it's nothing special, but it's not bad. So I will go right underneath Don't Say No as well, ahead of Bad English. I'll put this at 43.
Okay.
All right. Now, Tom, we go to actual albums next.
Yeah, this is going to be tricky here. Okay, my top 5 albums right now. Number 5, Fair Warning, Shout at the Devil, Purple Rain, Moving Pictures, Master of Puppets. So we talk about this a lot here. This album, not only do I love the album musically, but me personally, I also put a lot of weight into like the nostalgia of the album, the history of the album when I first found, like that just matters to me with music. And we talk about it a lot with Chris on the episode that these songs are 40 years later, they're still classics. Journey, Sammy Hagar, Dio, Red Rider, with just great fucking songs. And I love the album, and I still consistently listen to it, even though it isn't on streaming. So long story short, all of that, it's kind of an unskippable album for me, even with the Madonna songs, and Don Henley's kind of crap, but I'm going to allow this one to sneak into my top 10, and I'm putting it at 10.
Whoa!
I'm putting it right at number 10. I'm putting it right below Mechanical Resonance and right above Stone Temple Pilots Purple, so it's going to be at number 10.
Wow. Top 10, huh?
Yeah, it's just a favorite of mine. Yeah.
Well, it'll be hard to beat soundtrack-wise.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing too. It's a soundtrack. It's unique to have that,
All right, my top 5: Pyromania, Blizzard of Oz, Hotel California, Automatic for the People, Purple. Where am I putting this motherfucker?
You motherfucker!
You motherfuckers! You better not put it above Diary, you piece of shit. All right. I am going to put this at number 25.
Okay.
Right underneath In Excess's Kick and right above Rocks.
All right, that's a good ranking. That's fair.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I really like this album. There is nothing in here that I would skip. I like she's
on the Zoom.
Pictures of his car.
That's so bad. Yeah. By the way, we do have to add a quick little side note. So after we finished recording the episode, Jericho texts me and Zeus. He's like, he goes, dudes, I just figured it out. We're like, what? He's like, the guy with the mohawk that plays Loudon's best friend, that's Jake from 16 Candles. We're like, yeah, no shit. You didn't know that? He's like, why didn't we bring it up? I'm like, I don't know. We were too busy talking about shoots, shorts, and Carla's coos to get to it. But
he's all into it now. He's like sending us photos of people wearing fucking shoot on his t-shirts.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
It was impressive how much Jericho liked the album. So I
told him he needs to work it in his commentary. He needs to throw some Vision Quest in his promos.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
think that'd be great. If he does, let us know, people, in case I miss it.
Yep.
All right, Tom. What we do next is this. Yep, that's right. Tom's favorite. You Make Me Rock Hard. So Chris, who we didn't really actually ask him, his basically is Quarantine's tour.
Pretty much.
And he read those off to you guys as, when they're playing. They got 3 dates coming up in the Midwest. Go check them out. It's fucking awesome.
Yep.
Quarantine's a lot of fun, and hopefully we'll see a lot of Loudcasters there. Tom, what about you, buddy? What makes you rock hard?
Okay, so I discovered this TV show on Paramount Plus. Well, it was on Showtime, which you access through the Paramount Plus streaming app. It's a show called Yellow Jackets. I had heard a lot about it, so I checked it out, and it's a really kind of unique, weird show. So it takes place in the past in 1995 or 96, and then present day, and it follows a high school girls soccer team that takes a plane ride to go to a tournament, but the plane crashes in the Canadian wilderness. So you think it's just going to be kind of like a survival story, but each episode, it flashes forward to present day with some of the young women who have obviously survived the plane crash. And they're talking about stuff that went on back in the 90s during their round of survival. And you start to figure out that shit went sideways, that this wasn't just them surviving. There was other stuff going on. And as you continue to watch it, it's not just about fighting for their life, fighting for survival. It's them fighting against supernatural forces that get kind of introduced. So there's a little bit of thriller, borderline horror elements, a little bit of action, some suspense. Really, really well acted, really, really well written. 2 seasons. I heard that the next one probably isn't going to be around till either the end of 24 or early 25, but highly recommended. Excellent, excellent show. Really, really good. Yellow Jackets.
Nice.
Yep.
All right. Check it out.
Yep.
All right. For me, Tom, this week, I'm going to pick a podcast.
Oh,
and it's one of the only podcasts I find the time to make it work. Yep. I don't have a big commute. I don't have much time. We're doing so much on this podcast. If I find myself with extra time, it's podcast related. So it's either an album review crew episode coming up, or it's a Kiss episode that I need to fucking listen to. I don't have that much time. And, but this is something that I work into it. And that's the podcast called Pivot. And that is Tara Swisher and Professor Scott Galloway's podcast.
Okay.
Unbelievable. I can't get enough of these two fucking geniuses. Their chemistry is off the charts. Scott Galloway, I found him on Bill Maher's show. And when I first heard him talk, I'm like, this guy, you listen and you're like, this guy's so fucking brilliant. He's self-deprecating. He's a serious tone. And you don't know what he's going to say. You don't know if he's going to have a liberal point of view, a conservative point of view, but it's always backed on facts. And his discussions about the problem with this country right now is the young males, and they can't date and we're not fucking having children and the fucking, the system and how we can, be better citizens. And they're both business specialists. Scott is more like matter of fact. Kara Swisher and her book Burn is fucking incredible, but she is just such a personality. Fucking neither of them take shit. They know a bunch of people. Swisher is like the person to go to about tech and business. Like she's like everyone goes to. If there's a breaking story, Tesla stock, fucking Apple's new fucking products, anything, they always get Kara Swisher on. And the two of them have great chemistry. You can listen to it. There's some stuff I look at the episode, I'm like, I'm not even going to get into this.
Yeah.
It's fucking too complicated. But they're business experts and it's fascinating shit. So they'll go down, but they'll talk about like popular subjects, Gaza shit. They'll talk about the election. They'll talk about, Tesla's recall of things, AI is their big thing these days. They're talking about which company's growing AI. I find myself every time I listen to them becoming smarter. It's that much fun. It's called
it's very similar to the Shout Out Loudcast podcast. Our listeners get smarter. People get smarter. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
It's a ton of fun. They each have their own podcast. If you want to listen to them separately as well, Professor G Pod and Kara Swisher has On with Kara Swisher. The two of them, fan-fucking-tastic. Love them.
So I know both of those names. Are they on TV? Are they like recurring guests or like?
They're usually called in for specific stuff.
Yeah, because I know both names.
Galloway's a professor at NYU. His book is now the #1 bestseller. Before that was Kara Swisher's earlier, Burn, and she did all that stuff. I mean, she gets into fights with like Elon, or she'll get into a fucking what's the guy over at Jamie Dimon at Chase or whatever the fuck, wherever he's at. She can have conversations with all of them. It's all tech stuff.
Yeah.
She's on the show I mentioned to her not too long ago with in the morning. What's his name? Chris Wallace that he has on. He's on that panel. Galloway's on Bill Maher all the time. He was just on this week's Bill Maher with your buddy Don Lemon and RFK RFK Jr. It's fucking fascinating. Listen to him talk. It's amazing. I always retweet his shit every time I listen to him. Brilliant. And Kara Swisher's got just no fucking fucks given attitude.
Yeah.
Love their commentary about things. It's a fun podcast, but even I will tell you, there's just some stuff that I'm like, I don't understand this.
I do that with most of the podcasts I subscribe to. I'm like, I can't
way
listen
over my
to this.
head.
Yeah, I
it's
can't listen.
Way over my head. But then they'll be like talking about TikTok, the band, and the company it's having, and Galloway will be like, buy this because I'm telling you, in this much time, this thing is going to be worth a gazillion. And then they'll be like, dump this. This is never going to do anything. This is stupid. But they're fun and they're self-deprecating. It's a lot of fun. So, anyways,
nice. Nice.
That's You Make Me Rock Hard. Tom, what we usually leave with is a quick little plug. Want to tell people about us a little?
Yep. So we are Shout Out Loudcast. If this is your first time listening to us, we are normally an all Kiss podcast, dropping Kiss related episodes every Saturday. We do album review crew episodes once a month, where we pick an album, obviously non-Kiss, and we have a third man in and kind of spend a few hours breaking it down and having some fun. You can find more about us at our website at shoutitoutloudcast.com. And we are on all the social medias, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, YouTube. And you can also email us at shoutitoutloudcast@gmail.com. I'm very interested to see what people think of this movie, the soundtrack. And if people out there have never heard of this movie or soundtrack, because I think that'll also be interesting too. Shoutitoutloudcast.com is where you can find it all.
Tom, we leave with famous last words. You got any?
Oh, I do. I can hear you coming, and we know what you're after. We're wise to you this time. We won't let you kill the laughter. Fuck yeah, Red Rider.
Tom, look at your text that I just sent you.
No fucking way, dude. Are you kidding me? I didn't even bring it up because I didn't think that you would pick that. Oh my God. Wow. Sorry.
I had the exact same lyrics highlighted. We don't tell each other usually what we're doing.
No.
So, I had the same thing. So let me give you something else, people.
Jesus. Shared brain for sure.
She went to home economics, just like all the other girls, making chicken a la king, and peanut butter swirls.
Just terrible.
You know, he showed her pictures of his car, Tom.
Pictures of his car?
And then pictures of his room.
Pictures of his room?
Yeah, because she's on the Zoom, Tom.
Ugh, yuck.
Don, what are you doing, my friend? All right, Chris Jericho, Tom, Loudcasters, thank you.
Chris Jericho, thanks so much for joining us. When you said Loudcasters, I thought you were going to say Loudon. I thought you were going to thank him for this episode.
Loudon, shoot-tards.
Yeah, yeah, great time. I love this movie, love this album. I hope you guys have fun listening to it. Zeus, as always, my friend, thank you.
Peace out, Girl Scout.